welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. These are my glasses. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of November 10th, 2014. Welcome to the site to you new members, and welcome back to the old members. The Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one. But I need your question if I'm going to answer it, so please send them to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and it is the best way to get the most out of the site. It is CTN week. I'm stoked. Are you stoked? Get stoked. Big announcement this week. It's going to be a big one. Come check me out at CTN. Walk right up to me. Say your name so I know what to call you. And say hello. Don't be shy. I want this to be the first CTN that I don't get emails and messages saying, "Hi Kenny, saw you at CTN, but you looked busy." I will try to not look busy. In fact, how about this? When I'm busy, I'll make this face. Okay? So if I'm not making that face, come up and say hi. Okay? But if I'm making this face, then give me a few minutes, all right? Is that a deal? Good. We all set on that? No confusion. I want to make sure everybody's happy and having a great time. CTN is a great time. You cannot get out of a good time if you're an animator and you come to CTN. So I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to make sure that happens. All right, guys? Cool. So besides that, we're finishing up the year. Can't believe it, 2014. Exactly 4 years ago, I started this site. I launched it at CTN 2010. So, good for us. Going into our 5th year. Next year is going to be exciting, and I have some stuff lined up for you guys, and I hope you appreciate it, because it's been a long time coming. That's for darn sure. Besides that, Autodesk University in December 2nd, I believe, is my lecture on making a feature film on a micro budget at a studio, which is what we're doing here at Arconics. We're making a feature animation, and we're using some brand new pipeline tools, some brand new modeling and rendering tools, and that's kind of cool. It's not kind of cool, it's very cool, and that's why I'm talking about it at Autodesk University. Check that out at autodeskuniversity.com, or I think it's just autodeskuniversity.com. Just search for Autodesk University. It's mostly kind of like architectural and this new thing called BAM. I don't even know what BAM is. I think it has something to do with architecture and rendering, but it's a lot of architecture and a lot of BAM and a lot of engineering at AU, but they do have a media and entertainment track. And on that track, there is, breakdowns by like ILM and like Framestore and some other big studios on their films. There's stuff for artists like you and I that animation and modeling and stuff like that. So check it out, autodeskuniversity.com. And I think that's kind of it. We're going to be still, even though I'm going to New Zealand every other year, I go to New Zealand. So this is an on year, so I'm going to be in New Zealand for a month in December. The site will go on; it will persist. So you don't have to worry. This show must go on, and there'll be no interruption to the stuff here on KennyRoy.com. And I think that's all. All right, so let's check out the question this week. Good question, man. I love that tempo cube. I love that helper object. Well, the question said helper object, but I gave you guys the tempo cube. Okay, in the latest animating with tempo lecture called Meet or Introducing the Tempo Cube. That is, it was this summer, and I handed out, actually, wait, it might have been November, September. Doesn't matter. Go look for it. We introduced the tempo cube, and it's an awesome helper object because it's slightly deformable. It's got like 4 controls on it, and it's really good for getting a great impression. But at any rate, to answer the question directly and simply, no, the process is exactly the same. In fact, the more legs your character has, the more this process saves you time. Just bare minimum. It saves you as much, like linearly. It saves you as much time as the character has legs. All right. So if it's a bipedal character, it saves you like X amount of time. If it's a quadruped, it saves you like 2X. And if it's a octoped, saves you 4X. I'm going to stop doing math. It's very embarrassing. And it's simply, again, because there is no point in jumping into posing right in the beginning of your scene when your timing is the real thing that actually needs all of that attention. When I was working at Weta, there was a shot in the bug pit sequence where these spider creatures that were all like creeping, crawling down the walls, and I had this one shot that had about a dozen bugs in it. Literally a dozen rigs. I'm not sure how many rigs you guys have worked with, but it doesn't get any easier having to work with tons and tons and tons of rigs in one scene. But anyway, here's a character from a little short that we worked on, and his legs are all different lengths, and he really, man, this guy was really, really, really tough to kind of work out. He's actually a super tough character to pose because of, well, it almost becomes bookkeeping when you have a character that is has so many legs. I was talking with an animator named Scott Kravitz, who was animating on Matrix 2 and 3, and he actually was the guy that I borrowed that term from, bookkeeping, because what he said was at a certain point when you were working on the Sentinels, and the Sentinels I believe had 13 legs, when you're working on the Sentinels, at a certain point it stopped becoming animating and it started becoming bookkeeping. Because you would pose the character, and what he considered the character was like the central part of him. And this guy almost looks kind of like the Sentinel. He's missing the eyeballs, but he's got sort of like a insect body. And when you were done, sort of like posing it, sort of, you would go into the timing, and you would be like, all right. Which and this is when they were like ambulatory. They had like scripts that worked out the like sort of like the movement, the wiggling of the legs in air. So you didn't have to hand animate, the squiggly wiggly of those legs behind the Sentinel as he was flying, or at least that's what he said, and I don't think he lied to me. So, but point is that. At a certain point when you're working, you have so much to do in terms of like managing the legs that you don't even feel like an animator anymore. You're almost just like there to like pose something roughly and then go in and just manage all of these legs. And he said like it got to the point where it was basically they were just fighting for enough time to get their shots done just because of these legs. So like the character would land and like take some steps and whatever, and just like getting the legs to like lift up in place and move and walk around each other, that was what was taking up like so much of the time in the shot. Not like working out the timing of the overall character itself, but just those things. So to answer the question again, yes, the process is exactly the same. So I'm going to make a quick little helper object right here. I'm going to kind of roughly shape it the size of this thing, just because why not? And I'm going to freeze transforms on it. Delete history. And then what's the process? The process is grab all of the world IK controllers, okay? All right, so these, and you got to pay attention though, right? Because the pole vectors are moving with the body control, all right? And the feet are getting left behind. And it looks like the tail is also in the body controls world object space, okay? But let's just make sure that there's no switches here that are going to mess everything up. Okay, they look pretty good. All right, so let's go back, grab that helper object, grab one of the controllers, constrain parent, and now you can just hit the G key, G as in giraffe, oops. And because this only has translates on it, you can't add a parent constraint. So the rotations are locked and hidden, so we'll just do that. Hit the G key, G, 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 oops, come back, G, 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 okay, and now the helper object is moving all of the controls. So if we had, can't remember how long my shot was actually. Can't remember, but let's say we have 72 frames, and we have like all this terrain that he has to move up on. And let's start him up here. And this is especially important if you have like beats that you're supposed to hit. But this really gets your character in sort of like the mode where they are moving freely in world space. Like, so for instance, here's like another piece of advice. Like I've said this a lot of times, that on student demo reels, you know, the only time when you have something that is moving sort of at an odd angle is when like the camera's rotated. So instead of like moving him directly along Z, right? And that's not the shot that the director wants, right? So let me show you what I'm talking about. Like if your idea to, like if you get the direction from the director, okay, so he's up on this box and I want him to move to the corner and then jump down to here and then jump down to right here. Well, if you put him right here and you're just moving him along the Z-axis, it's probably not what the director was talking about, because he wants it to almost like reveal on the top of this box, right? Does that seem like a much more dynamic part of the shot? Well, that's the X and the Z axis. This is super boring, and this is what I'm talking about. Like when you're looking at student work, you like just like look at like all the angles in the shot, and pretty much everything is moving. You know, if he up here, then he jumps down here, and then he moves again like perfectly straight in Z, right? Or then he does like a 90-degree turn and then like moves along the X axis along this box. Especially if you have a set that is worked out like this, or any sort of you know, straight angles in your scene, you're not really getting a dynamic shot if you're not, you know, moving the character freely, kind of like on all axes. Okay. Okay. So, any rate, so let's just do that really quickly. It won't take us very long. Let me make a new perspective. Okay, and just animate this guy real quick. So my shot is, he is up on this box like this. All right, there's a few frames where he's just standing still, and then by the first second he comes to the edge, waits there for half a second, 36, jumps over to here, let's say 2 frame down, and let's say 8 frames in the air, comes down to here, okay, in the middle of his arc, right there, lands. All right, pauses there for another 8 frames, 46 to 54. Turns and moves to the edge right here. And then 2-frame anticipation. Jumps another 8 frames over to here. Let's extend this just a little bit. Okay. Pauses. And then turns. And then walks to this corner. And then turns towards us. Okay, so let's watch it back. It's obviously not going to be, most beautiful animation you've ever seen in your entire life, but it might be close. I don't know. Here we go. Cool. Right. So you saw how long. So here's the point that I was just illustrating. You saw how long, because I was talking while I was doing it, how long it took me to grab each one of those feet and move them to where they are sort of like parallel with the each other in the ground, to sort of establish where the ground plane is for the character, and how long it took to move the pole vectors and rotate the pole vectors and get everything right. And that was for just 1 frame. Okay, now I was able to. It's kind of silly and sparse, but this is definitely all. This timeline is perfect for working on my timing now. Okay, I have keys on timeline. I have keys in scene. I can grab my dope sheet, which is what I like to use these days, animating with tempo. Very, 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 very awesome tool these days. Didn't use it very much. I thought it was fast enough in the timeline. I thought whatever I couldn't get done in the timeline, I could do in the graph editor. Both of those way slower than the dope sheet with tempo. Okay, so now that I'm in here with tempo, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 keyframes, and so I just want to point out that 17 keyframes times multiplied by the 5 minutes it took me to pose all those feet and just get them lined up and looking decent. All right, what is 17 times 5? It's 50, 85. All right, so 1 hour and 25 minutes, maybe an hour if I'm not talking. It would take me an hour to just get those things in pose. And now what I have is one object that I can use the dope sheet and work out the timing. I mean, obviously, when I watch this back, this section seemed a little bit weird. It did not seem like I gave him enough time to look around. I do think he has enough time right here to arrive and look and then jump over here. But then I think maybe he should come to the corner just a little bit, wait, pause, and then jump over. But at any rate, this is my shot. I have everything I need. All the tools are at my fingertips to make this look absolutely perfect. Okay, so again, the answer is absolutely, resoundingly yes. The process is the same when using a helper object with a character with more than 2 legs. It's better. The more legs the character has, the better a helper object is. I just saved myself an hour instantaneously, and even better than the time, just like the bare bones time I've saved in this scene. Even better than that is the fact that my scene is still in a format, in a state that it is like immediately, instantaneously editable, and I can make something special out of it. So that's a fantastic question. I hope that was the answer you were looking for. Send more questions, webmasterkennyroy.com. You guys, all kennyroy.com members, can send in questions and get your questions answered in a video every single week. We do not take a break. We got one speed here on kennyroy.com. I am excited. Are you excited? Get excited. CTN's coming up. I'm Kenny Roy. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your animation. As always, rock on.